qué gusto saludarlos. Soy Glenda Omaña, periodista internacional en Colby Negocios. Esta entrevista la vamos a hacer en inglés porque tenemos un invitado muy especial. Él es Duncan Wardle y fue vicepresidente del departamento creativo, adivinen qué, de Walt Disney. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Duncan.
Thank you.
And first I want to say that you're so funny. You wanted to start the interview like, how was it? Like this? Something like that?
It's so much more fun. Don't be boring.
So you were telling me before
These chairs are really good.
Yeah, that's why we don't like to put these kind of chairs.
It's great.
You were telling me that you grew up in a boarding school.
It's true.
Like Harry Potter. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
How was your how were you when you were a child? Because is that when you started your creativity? How that kind of life impacted?
No, it's easy. So when you were a little girl and you got un regalito para Navidad.
Ah, ¿sí habla español?
No, es horrible.
Ah, no.
Horrible. But I can understand the chisme. Anyway, so when you were a little girl and you got a gift for Christmas or a birthday, it came in a huge box, because you were very small. The box was very big, no? And it took you ages to take that toy out of the box. What do you spend the rest of the week playing with?
What is in the box?
The box. It was your fort. It was your castle. It was anything you wanted it to be.
It's true.
Until you went to the number one of killer of creativity, education. And the first thing your teacher told you to do when you were 6 years of age, don't forget to colour in between the lines.
That's true. It has to be with freedom.
Well, a small child, right? What's the one word they ask you, one word question they ask you again and again and again?
Why?
Why? Because they know you lied the first time, that's why. They are as good, if not better, than hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on data, on research today. Data's getting better and better and better. But the insight for innovation comes on the fourth or fifth why. Data only goes to the second why. If I were to ask you why you go to Disney on vacation, the number one response we'll get in research is we go for the new attractions. If I were only to rely on my data, I would spend $250 million on a capital investment strategy building a new ride. But if I behave like a childlike, not childish, and say, well, why do you go for the new rides? Well, no, I like the classics. Why do you like the classics? Well, I like It's a Small World. Why do you like It's a Small World? Well, it's my mum's favourite ride. She used to love the music. Why the music? Well, she loved it. And why is that important to you 20 years later? I take my daughter now. Boom, there's your insight for innovation. It has nothing to do with the capital investment strategy whatsoever and everything to do with people's personal memory and nostalgia. That's a communication campaign, not a capital investment strategy. But then we go to the number one killer of curiosity. Education. And the first thing our teacher tells us to do after
it depends in the education.
No, it doesn't. The first thing our teacher tells us to do after they tell you to don't forget to colour in between the lines, the next thing you're taught is to stop asking why, because there's only one right answer. And yet, here we are at a conference about tech. Artificial intelligence, it's coming, right? So I spent about 6 weeks ago, I was out in Tel Aviv with a young girl. She's 25. She's from India. She's programming Google's DeepMind, which is the future of artificial intelligence. And I asked her, I said, how will we compete with that 5-10 years from now with humans? Right? She said, well, the most employable skill sets of the next decade will be the ones hardest for her, to program into artificial intelligence. And I asked her what they were. And she said, the ones with which you were born. Imagination, creativity, curiosity, empathy, and intuition. But they're driven out of us by the time we leave school. And I can prove it. I did an experiment.
You did an experiment?
I took 3,000 students at a university, all between the ages of 18 and 24, and I put one first grade class of little 6-year-olds right in the middle. And I said, hands up, who's creative? Me. 30 little hands shot into the air. The other 3,000, they've been told they're not creative so many times they already gave up. And yet, these are the most employable skill sets of the next decade.
Do you think how your parents encouraged your creativity? How was that?
There was some alcohol involved. No, you know what? I used to love Lego. Lego was great. Because it didn't come in sets with the book. It just came in bricks. And you used to make anything. It didn't really look like anything, but you believed it was whatever it was. And I remember when we got a giant fridge. It came in an enormous box. I lived in that box for about 2 months. I slept in the box. It was, it was my rocket ship.
Do you think you were a different child?
Yes. The only A I ever got in any exam was absent because I didn't show up for the exam. I was a disastrous student. The only university I went to was the one that accepted me. But here's what I learned. When you go to school, when I went to school, I learned history, geography, English language, English literature, math, physics, biology, French, and chemistry. I hated 7 of them, and I failed 7. But I loved history, and I got an A in history. If we apply that basic principle to the rest of our life, if you do what you love, you'll be really good at it. It doesn't matter what it is, but people forget that. If you do what you're passionate about and what you love doing, whether it's a videographer, a sound person, a TV interviewer, if you really enjoy it, you'll be really good at it. And
I'm enjoying this interview, but Duncan, I think not only me, but everybody wants to know a little bit more about your story and how you started, for example, in a company like Disney.
Day one.
How was that your dream? Was that your dream?
So
how did you make it? When was that? How old were you?
I was tiny when my mother went to a place called, my mother's friend went to a place called America. We're talking like 1968 here. Nobody went to America in 1968.
You were how old?
Young. Like 4 or 5, I guess.
Okay.
And she brought me back a bronze keyring from a place called Disneyland. Oh, I still have the bronze keyring. It was a shrine. It was absolutely right. Anyway,
for you, it was.
So I finished after 30 years as head of innovation and creativity at Pixar, Marvel, Disney, Lucasfilms. But I didn't start that way. I started as the cappuccino boy. I used to go and get my boss 6 cappuccinos a day from the deli in London. And about 6 weeks into the role, I was asked to be the character coordinator. That's the person who looks after the characters that walk around. At the Royal Premier.
Where was that?
So a walk-around character. These are the, the
yeah,
walk-around
but
character.
In which location?
It was at the Royal Premiere of Who Framed Roger Rabbit in the presence of the Princess of Wales, Diana. I said, well, what's my job? They said, well, you just stand at the bottom of the stairs. Roger Rabbit will come down the stairs to greet the princess. The princess will come in along the receiving line and she'll move into the theatre. Well, how could you possibly screw that up? Well, that's the day when I found out what a contingency plan was because I didn't have one. Therefore, a contingency plan would tell you if you're going to bring a very tall rabbit with really long feet down a stairs towards the Princess of Wales, you might want to measure the width of the steps through which the rabbit has to come down before he trips on the first step and he's now hurtling like a bullet down the stairs like a torpedo directly towards Diana's head. Whereupon he was taken out in midair by 2 Royal Protection Officers who just flattened him. There's a very famous picture on Reuters of Roger going back through the air like this, 2 very angry men diving through the air, and a 21-year-old PR guy from Disney in the back going, oh, shit, I'm fired. So I thought there's no point in going to work tomorrow. And I got a call from a CMO. I didn't even know what one was at the time. And I thought, oh, he's going to tell me I'm fired. He goes, that was great publicity. I was like, I could make
you were like,
I could make a career out of this. And so for the next 20 years, I did. I got to have some of the more mad, audacious, outrageous ideas for Lucasfilms, Pixar, Marvel.